Okay, so today I'll be talking about AI is not the sole solution. And I would like to say day to day, right, in my day-to-day life, I work on math, algorithms, and so on. But when I go home and try to sleep, I have these like invasive thoughts like, what the heck am I doing with my life? But also like, okay, there's something deeply troubling about the world right now. So let me start with the great promise of generative AI, right? This is something that we've heard, about a lot. We're getting hammered by this in all angles, especially from John, every day. For example, ChatGPT, it can be a software engineer, it can even be a lawyer, right? It can get 88th percentile on the LSAT, and it can make cool-looking cat pictures. So once you take in all this information, like you might think, oh, where are we going? What does the next 50 to 100 years look like? Of course, there are two possibilities, right? Maybe in 100 years we'll all be plugged into the matrix. Maybe in 100 years there'll be some AI-fueled utopia. No one has to work. Everyone has free food, free money to do whatever the heck they want. What I'm really interested in is in the very short to medium term. What is happening now, especially from my perspective as a scientist? One really troubling thing is, something that's really proliferating. It's not, in addition to the cool things, is really the spam in the world in all aspects. And let me talk about that. So for the rest of the talk, I'll be talking about, junk that's everywhere. Junk in the internet, junk businesses, junk knowledge, and what we can do about it. And really, I think, for example, people might say, what is the use case of blockchain? Well, it's to launder money. I think one popular use case of, current AI technology is to generate spam at scale. Okay, and that's really saddening. So let me focus on the first point, junk internet. So there's a really great article. The title is "Are We Watching the Internet Die?" And if you ever logged on to Facebook recently, or even Instagram, TikTok, or whatever, you'll see that somehow all these sites have been co-opted by mass-generated fake things. Like if you ever go on Facebook, right? Like I rarely use it, but I see lots of these fake images. Kids in India building statues of a cricket player, slightly racist pictures of kids from Africa building junk from plastic. This is all fake generated, and maybe even like fake things targeting U.S. audience. Like this might look real, but if you look right, it doesn't say USA, it says USAA, the insurance company. And this girl has 5 of these fingers. So we're constantly getting spammed by stuff like this now, and you can check it out on Facebook yourself. And not only are these like images and posts fake, the people that reply to them in comments, they're also all fake, right? These are just like mass-generated content, just replies that says, "Oh, great job," and so on and so on. And why is that? Well, we have bad incentive structures in the internet. Specifically, a lot of times, right, where they're engineered to, or they're designed to generate clicks and engagement. And when you combine this with the power to generate lots of engagement and clicks, well, it can lead to bad outcomes like that. Okay. The second point was junk products. Okay. I don't know if anyone heard of this case for Air Canada. It happened a couple of months ago. Essentially, they had ChatGPT on their website. They trained it on their documents. And what happened was a guy, right? He had some questions about, can he get his flight reimbursed? And the chatbot said yes. Under these conditions, you can get your flight reimbursed. But that was not the actual company policy, and he sued Air Canada. And later in court, they argued, well, it's not a human, so so the user is stupid for trusting what it says, right? Like it's not us. It doesn't represent us. And we see that, or at least I've been seeing it in lots of other fields as well. Other fields like telehealth, we're moving farther and farther away from getting actual human interactions and more to chatbots. Even in the education, especially in the U.S., right, in underserved communities, instead of empowering them, pumping more money in for more resources, we see more and more things like online tutoring and now chatbots and so on. Okay. So the last point was junk knowledge. a lot of these very big tech companies, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, they're in the business of, serving you knowledge. And what's happening right now is that it's harder and harder for us to find the actual source. So what's happening is that nowadays, instead of you being empowered to find the source of information, they're going to summarize something for you and just give it to you on a plate. While this may generate more clicks, or you might think that this is a better outcome. What that leads to is that you're not the one making decisions. You're not the one that's actually checking the information. Someone, some model that has a lot of flaws, it's summarizing the internet and it's presenting information for you. So here's one example. On the Amazon app, you can't even ask it about president. Another example of this is, it's really hard to find truthful information now. Most Amazon reviews are fake. And even in science, right? If you look at very low-quality venues, they're getting spammed with lots of fake, AI-generated papers. And one way to check is, there are these sort of catchphrases that these chatbots use when they're rate limited, right? They say, okay, I don't have access to this information, or they might say, okay, here's the introduction for your paper. And you can see in lots of very, not so good venues, there are many papers like this now. And what's bad about this in my point of view? Well, I feel like we should be able to find the true source of information, right? We should be able to find the truth, basically, and it's getting harder and harder to do that. So of course, right, the natural question to ask is, who is accountable when all these bad events happen, right? And some of these are benign, right? Like if you get something wrong on your algebra, maybe that's okay. But other things, right? If you have a AI lawyer in your pocket and it doesn't have attorney-client privilege, and you say, hey, I cheated on my taxes, and it reports it to the IRS, who is responsible, right? Normally, a lawyer, you have attorney-client privilege, but here it's not so clear, right? It's not a human. It's a system that people are building. Or even more harmful, if an AI system is saying, okay, who should I shoot, and it kills someone, and it's the wrong choice, let's say, who is responsible? And something that you might notice is that a lot of companies, they're sort of giving AI systems more and more power to make decisions. And that actually benefits them, because if they can sort of coerce the system to make decisions that they want the system to make, but they don't act, or they don't feel like they're responsible for the outcomes, right? So they're kind of separated from all these for responsibility. Okay, and lastly, right, just me, as a scientist, is thinking, what can we do to, kind of curb the behavior a little bit and make sure we're ending up in a better part of the future? Well, the first is to realign incentives, right? Rather than generating clicks, maybe if you're designing a company or building a product, try to think, how can I help people, right? Not just generate more money. The second part, which I think was touched on, is we need more humans in the loop, right? Technology alone can't solve human problems. Be more skeptical. Try to find the correct source of information. Oops. And lastly, right, talk to the real scientists, because they have a good understanding of what limitations these systems have. For instance, right, you wouldn't search some gym bro on Instagram and take all their medical advice, right? They might tell you to take steroids, for instance, or at least I hope. Similarly, right, we shouldn't always listen to these tech bros, right, who have a lot of monetary, a lot of monetary stake to say these hype statements. I think it's really important for both business people and scientists to collaborate and be realistic about what's possible, and what the actual limitations are. And lastly, right, I encourage you, if you're thinking about adopting some of these systems in your business, go to some of these academic conferences. So these two are probably the top machine learning venues, but there are also other venues where people really think about accountability and fairness. Oops. And yeah, and that was the last one. Anyways, right, ultimately we need more educated folks, and we need good systems to think about these things. And yeah, okay. All right, I guess that's the end of my talk. Thanks.